Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about relationships. Now when I tell people about my passion for relationships and how I believe we've got to cultivate so much more love and connection in our world, people often ask me, okay David, how do we do that? If you could just say one thing that will allow us to increase the quality of our relationships, what would that be? Now this of course is a very broad question because we have many different types of relationships. We've got of course the more obvious relationships such as our romantic relationships, relationships with friends, family, even relationships with colleagues. But there is also different and wider qualities of relationships. We have relationships with our politicians and politics. We have relations with religion, religious leaders. And if you run a business, you also have relationships with your clients and customers, even if you've never met them. So to say that there's any one single thing that can encompass all of these different things is difficult. But what I have found that, generally speaking, there are two qualities, two actions that if you adopt, you can increase the quality of your relationships. Whether that is a relationship with your significant other, a relationship with the people you work with, a relationship with your children, a relationship with your church, a relationship with your community groups, whatever it is. There are two principles that I call the two golden rules of relationships. If you start practicing them, the quality of your interactions is going to improve. The quality of your connection is going to improve. And you're going to receive all of the benefits that come from that. A feeling of belonging in the world, a feeling of love and trust with others. And indeed, if you're in business, then you're also going to experience improved growth and profits. Because if you learn how to really form a relationship with your customer, then they are going to buy from you. So, let's launch into this. Two golden rules of relationships. Golden rule number one, ask better questions. Because if we want to deepen a relationship with another person, then we need to know that person. We need to know where our connection with that person comes from. Where are our commonalities in our values, our interests, our perspectives? And a lot of us right now are quite poor question askers. You see, we do ask questions, but they're very superficial and often flippant questions. Classic example of this is the question, how are you? How are you? Now we say, how are you? But the only response that we really want is something like, I'm good, fine, or even okay. But we don't actually want to hear any other answer apart from that. If you ask someone, how are you? And they started telling you about the really bad time that they're having and the stress and the conflict that they've got, you'd actually be like, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't want to hear this. I didn't ask for this. But you did ask for it. But the problem is that question has become so flippant now that we have no meaning and no energy behind it. And a lot of the other common questions that we ask have a very similar kind of resonance and energy. Questions such as, what do you work at? Where do you live? Are you married? How many kids have you got? These kind of questions, they attack a very superficial level of understanding. You see, so often we ask demographic questions. Questions such as, where do you live? How old are you? Where do you work? What do you do? You see, these are the questions that governments like to ask us. Because these type of questions are able to put people into boxes. Whether that be young, old, working class, middle class, male, female, educated, non-educated. If you want to have good relationships with other people, then don't ask these boring demographic questions. Don't ask questions about what puts people into a box with other people. Ask questions about what separates them from that box with other people. Ask people what they think and what they feel. Ask people about what they're passionate and what makes them feel creative. Ask people about what drives and motivates them. These type of questions produce far more interesting answers. And when you're engaged in a series of interesting answers, the conversation is more interesting. And if you're able to stimulate interesting conversation with people, guess what? People are going to think you are interesting. If you are able to create interesting interactions with people, this creates for them the link in their minds and in their hearts between you and being interesting, you and being fascinating, you and being someone of energy and resonance. So the first golden rule of relationships: ask better questions. And the second golden rule, directly linked to this, is listen. If you're asking better questions, then you also need to be prepared to listen to the answers. Because again, this is another relationship skill that we are doing very poorly in our society right now. If you think back to school, think about all that time that was spent teaching us how to read, how to write, and how to speak. But whoever taught us how to listen? We never had listening 101. And so all too often in our interactions, we put across our point of view, our perspective, our stories, our stress, without appropriate consideration for the other person. Relationships need to be a two-way process. So we need to learn how to listen. And in my work, I call this the 49% rule. And what this rule dictates is that in any interaction, you should seek to speak no more than 49% of the time. And this means that your number one skill in relationships is always listening. And so guys, if you follow those two golden rules in every interaction you have, whether it be with your partner, whether it be with your colleagues at work, whether it be with your customers, if you just keep on asking them good questions and then listening to the answers, you're going to start to feel your relationships with that person or people shift. And you may think that this is something that you're not really actively doing. In fact, you're being very passive. How can I enjoy good relationships if I'm not speaking, if I don't have any input into the interaction? But that's just the thing. Because in a world where we live with so much noise and so many people shouting at each other, when you have someone who isn't doing that and is taking the time to be interested in you and taking time to listen to you, then boy does that feel good. Have you ever had that scenario where you're telling someone something and they're just giving you their full attention and they're interested and they're fascinated, they keep on asking questions, they want to know more? How good does that feel? You automatically have a good feeling towards that person, even if you barely know them. Well, that is the effect that you can have when you flip that switch. When you are the one who's interested, you're the one who's fascinated, you're asking questions, you're listening, you want to know more about the person. That is how we have good relationships. So guys, there are my two golden rules. Go out and start using them, and I promise you, the way you conduct your relationships and the way that you feel in your relationships is going to change hugely. Thank you very much for taking the time to join me today on this video. I hope you found this of value. I look forward to seeing you next time. But until then, go out there and live your life of love and service. I'll speak to you soon. David. Hey guys, it's David again. Just a quick couple things to cover before you have to shoot off. First of all, if you liked this video and if you've been enjoying the content on the channel thus far, then could I ask you to please click that big red subscribe button below. That way you're sure never to miss any content and you can keep up with all the training and knowledge that I'm sharing on the channel. Second of all, if you feel that this video was impactful for you, and if you feel that there's a person or a group in your life who could really benefit from the message in this video, could I ask you please to share it with them? Share it with anyone who you could feel could benefit from this training. You see, I'm doing everything I can to get my message out there to all the people who need to hear it, but there's only so much I can do by myself. So I'm asking you guys, as my fans and supporters, to help me spread this message and help impact as many people's lives as possible. And then third of all, if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about my story and the 3 most powerful life lessons I've learned, then you can find this in my latest book, The Last 60 Minutes. This is a book that will help you find meaning and vibrancy in your life. Go to the video description below and there'll be a link where you can look at the book and find out more information about it. And if you find yourself reading it, I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for in there. So guys, until next time, remember to go out there and live a life of love and service. I look forward to speaking to you soon.